gets the credit for feeding the needy? Will it be the centre that provides free rice and wheat under the Food Security Act, or will it be the state? That, in short, is the crux of the fight between the Congress government in the state of Karnataka and the BJP right now. The Chief Minister of Karnataka, Siddaramaiah, put out a picture today on social media displaying a letter by the Food Corporation of India. That's a central agency that distributes food grains, to buffer his claim that the centre was going back on its promise to provide gains for petty politics. The BJP has denied the charge, saying that the Congress is looking for excuses to go back on its own poll promises. So what is the genesis of this tussle, and how has the Food Corporation of India gotten involved? It starts with a pre-poll promise by the Congress that said they would provide 10 kilograms of rice free of cost to each person in a below poverty line family. The Congress won the election with a huge mandate and promised to roll out this scheme called the Anaa Bhagya Yojana on the 1st of July. Now, to do this, the Karnataka government needs 2.28 lakh metric ton of rice every month. They reached out to the Food Corporation of India, or the FCI, to fulfill this promise. The FCI is a central agency whose job it is to regulate the supply of essential food grains in the country. They collect stocks from farmers, store them and distribute as necessary. Now, the Karnataka government asked the FCI for 13,819 tons of rice at the rate of 3,400 rupees per quintal. So that's about 34 rupees per kg. This request was made on the 9th of June. The Karnataka government claims that they received 2 letters from the FCI on the 12th of June agreeing to provide the rice. Now, here is where it gets tricky. On the 13th of June, the central government put out a notice saying FCI is discontinuing the sale of wheat and rice to states from its own stocks. The reason given is to control prices and have enough buffer, as fears are growing of a slow monsoon that could impact rice supplies. But the Karnataka government smells a rat. They say this is nothing but a petty political ploy to disrupt their scheme. The BJP has denied the charge.
ನಿಮಗೆ ಹಣಕಾಸಿನ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಹಂಚಿಸಲು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಜನರಿಗೆ ಮಾತಿಗೆ ತಪ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನೆಪವನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ಗೂಬೆ ಕುಂದಿರಿಸುವಂತ ಹುನ್ನಾರದ ರಾಜಕಾರಣವನ್ನು ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ. ಆ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಜಕೀಯಕ್ಕೆ ಬಳಸಿಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರುವಂತದ್ದು ಒಬ್ಬ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗೆ ಶೋಭೆ ತರುವಂತದ್ದಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ಇಚ್ಛಪಡ್ತೀನಿ.
ಮುಂದಿನ ಮಂಗಳವಾರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಜಿಲ್ಲಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಪಕ್ಷ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಪಕ್ಷ 20ನೇ ತಾರೀಕು 11 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಿಜೆಪಿಯ ನಮಗಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋಂಥ ಅನ್ಯಾಯದ ವಿರುದ್ಧ, ಬಿಜೆಪಿಯ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರತಿಭಟನೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ನಮಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರತಿಷ್ಠಿತವಾದಂಥ ಯೋಜನೆ, ಈ ಅನ್ನಭಾಗ್ಯ ಯೋಜನೆಗೆ ನಾವು 5 kg ಅಕ್ಕಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಕೊಡಲೇಬೇಕು.
So what is this mechanism under which states get food grains from the FCI? This is through something called the Open Market Sales Scheme. It allows the Food Corporation of India to sell its surplus wheat and rice. This wheat and rice is sold at predetermined prices. Now, these sales could be made through e-auction in the open market, and anyone can participate. Private traders, bulk buyers, manufacturers, they can all participate in this auction. The reason that they, sell this rice or wheat or food grains is to enhance supply in the market, especially during lean season in deficit regions. The purpose is that if prices are going very high, they will put in more supply and moderate the prices. Now, under a new policy in 2023, that's the OMSS policy 2023, states were allowed to buy wheat and rice for their own schemes and did not have to participate in the e-auction. That means they could get this stock at a predetermined price, which would be lower. This was suspended on the 13th of June. So is it just a coincidence that the supply of rice has been suspended a fortnight before a state government scheme rolls out, or is there more than what meets the eye? To speak on this, I'm joined by Vijay Prasad, spokesperson of the Karnataka BJP, Rajat Sethi, author and economist, Dhruv Jati, spokesperson of the Congress, and Madhavan Narayanam, senior journalist. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us today. Dhruv Jati, let me begin with you. Why the charge that this is petty politics? Because the suspension of sale is for all states, not just for the state of Karnataka. Are you saying that all states of India would be made to suffer just to take revenge from the Congress in Karnataka?
Tamanna, do you remember the statement which Mr. J.P. Nanda came to Karnataka and made? What did he say? That Kandigas would be devoid of the blessings from the center if they hadn't voted for the Bharatiya Janata Party. And what you're seeing today is nothing but them fulfilling that promise despite being in power, that they're going to make life difficult for Kannadigas, and that the Anaa Bhagya scheme is not going to be implemented in full-fledged simply because they want to conduct what I would say vendetta politics and also make things and nuances more hard for the government of Karnataka. And the Congress party is very clear on its stance. On the 20th of this month, we are going to hold widespread protests across all districts in the state in order to let every single Kannadiga know that they have been cheated by the Bharatiya Janata Party.
But will you give the rice or not?
By Narendra Modi's
Dhruv Jati,
government.
will you fulfill your promise or not?
Tamanna, this coincidence of the 12th June's letter and the 13th June's letter makes it clear that the center does not want us to fulfill our promises. They are very clear that they want to create roadblocks and make it difficult for us. The letter from the 13th of June has just come out. The Congress
I have
party
asked
and the
you one
government of
simple
Karnataka
question, please, Mr. Jati. Will you, on the 1st of July, be rolling out the scheme or not? It's not as you'll have to find another way to do it if you're saying that this is a problem, but that's the situation for all states. Will you extend the date of rolling out the scheme? Will you reduce the quantity of rice, or will you roll it out on the 1st of July?
Tamanna, let's wait for an official announcement from the government of Karnataka. We will have one very shortly, and that will explain the entire the next step that the government is going to take because of this specific vendetta politics that has been
Vijay Prasad, is it vendetta politics? Is it vendetta politics? And it seems like just a bit of a coincidence, right? Suddenly this happens on the 13th of June after a letter on the 12th of June that the Chief Minister has put out today.
Thanks, Tamanna. It is no more than this Anaa Bhagya scheme. It is about Promise Bhagya. How to keep up the Promise Bhagya of the Siddaramaiah government. Promise Bhagya. See, every single election promise made by the Congress in Karnataka is coming apart. Siddaramaiah's latest stunt is further revealing how Congress trapped the people of the state in a web of lies. Unfortunately, their government is now trapped and has launched a misinformation campaign against the central government, against the Modi government over Anaa Bhagya scheme. So it is no more Anaa Bhagya, it is the Promise Bhagya, which Siddaramaiah is working overnight to keep up those promises. Here are the facts. I would like to place before the viewers some of the facts exposing Siddaramaiah new deception drama. Center's decision on open market sale of wheat and rice through the Food Corporation of India, FCI, is part of a series of steps being taken to keep the inflation under check. Modi government, central government ensures the affordability of food grains to 140 crore Indians. 80 crore National Food Security Act beneficiaries are being given 5 kg free rice wheat by the Modi government.
What are you reading from? No, what are you reading from, Vijay Prasad? What is this document you're reading from?
OMSS for rice
no,
and wheat.
What is this document, sir? What is the source of what you're reading from? Aap kahan se pad rahe ho? Okay, where are you reading from, Mr. Prasad? Is this the press release which announced? Is this the FCI press release? What are you reading from?
No. See, these are the facts. See,
no, you're clearly reading from somewhere. Is this the BJP's press release? Is this FCI? What is the source?
No, no, this is our source. This is BJP's source.
Okay.
This is BJP's source.
Okay.
And whatever the claims being made by the Siddaramaiah government, whatever the claims is being made by the see, all these letters are in the open domain.
Okay, no, I'll tell you why I'm asking, Mr. Prasad, because in your statement, I'll tell you why I'm asking, Mr. Prasad. Just give me a second, sir. Just give me a second and then you can answer with no interruption. I'll tell you why I'm asking. I'm asking because in what you just read out, you talked about what the central government is already doing. That's fine. The central government is doing it, it's fine.
Yeah.
What is the issue if the state government also does it? It gives the sense that the BJP wants to say we are the only ones who will provide. How dare any other party provide even if it's running a state government? Is that the message of what you are reading? Yes, we are aware there is a central government scheme. So what?
No,
why can't they provide 10 kilos more?
It is up to the state government as to how they can procure from the open market. But the fact of the matter is the OMS's the open market sales scheme has been withdrawn not only for Karnataka, it has been withdrawn for the entire country, except for the northeastern states and for the states which is under national calamities and which is going under some troubled times. So, claiming that deceptive that central government is putting this OMSS scheme discontinuing by the Siddaramaiah government, saying that it has been discontinued is false. Siddaramaiah is trying to put the blame game on the central government and he is trying to escape from his responsibility as to how he can. That is the reason why I said it is no more Anaa Bhagya scheme. He is talking about more of the promise Bhagya scheme. How he can fulfill the promise Bhagya. And now he is trying to shift his goalpost towards the central government, and
Quick response to Dhruv Jati before I move to the rest of the panelists. Are you trying to shift the goalpost? Have you figured out that there isn't enough money to roll out your promises and then you found this excuse? If that's the case, then Mr. Prasad, you made their job easy with FCI's letter. If FCI had not on 12th said okay and 13th said no, they couldn't have shifted the goalpost. Anyway, yes, Dhruv Jati to respond. Yes.
Tamanna, the first question you asked Mr. Vijay, I don't think he answered it. The question is very simple. Is the Bharatiya Janata Party trying to say that the FCI is an organization that is not credible, that a letter that they put out on the 12th and the letter that they put out on the 13th is going to question their credibility? Or is it some force of the center which is trying to influence the FCI in order to feed Kannadigas, and that the Bharatiya Janata Party has an issue with feeding the poor Kannadigas in Karnataka, the ones who really require the scheme, and that the Bharatiya Janata Party is anti-Kannadiga? Is it what that the center believes in? It's as simple as that, because the question is very simple. What is the letter that was put out on 12th and what is the letter that is put out on 13th? And does the center have any accountability with what the letters had to say, and what is the confusion on the whole?
You are forgetting one letter which FCI has issued on 8th of June. The 8th of June, FCI has already said, it is in the open domain, which says the decision on the open market sale of wheat and rice is by no means a sudden. It was taken as per the inter-ministerial committee meeting recommendations held on 8th June. And you are conveniently forgetting this fact and trying to cover it up from the public's domain. And you are not talking about the 8th June letter at all. Why are you not talking about
what
that?
What is the 8th June letter? 1 minute. What is the 8th June letter? 1 minute. What is the 8th June letter? Dhruv, just 1 minute. What is the 8th June letter? Mr. Prasad, what is this 8th June letter?
The 8th June letter, it is a 8th June letter which says the OMSS was discontinued on 8th of June itself. No. And there is a letter saying that it is in the public domain.
No, it's discontinued on the 13th.
Congress is conveniently
it's a decision for 13th.
Camouflaging that letter.
Okay.
Why they are not talking about that letter?
The press release, the conversation, the news reports, the announcement is all on the 13th of June. You're saying it's on the 8th of June, then what were they saying on the 12th of June? 1 minute. Madhavan, I want Madhavan to come into this and explain to us how this process works. Isn't it the discretion of the Food Corporation of India to decide when to release stocks, not to release stocks? And if the reason being given is to control food prices, wouldn't you want to increase supply instead of reducing supply?
Interesting question, Tamanna. Fortunately for you, I've been doing some homework on this, apart from having covered the FCI long ago as an agriculture correspondent for Business Standard. See, FCI is like the execution arm of the central government for mainly for buffer stocking. It goes back to the days when food was in short supply, and it used to supply to the public distribution scheme. Now, a lot has changed, but what has not changed is that food grain supplies are a very critical issue for India. Right now, the FCI has been for the past few years buffer stocking a lot to essentially as a backstop, and things reached a point where the granaries were overflowing, where the Supreme Court had to come in and say, look, free it for the poor. But things this year are a little anxious. So although it is BJP is so politically aggressive that you would expect them to do anything to stop opposition parties from gaining, in this particular instance, there has been a coincidence that there are some worries over monsoon this year. And there have been parallel reports in the media about the FCI's food stocking, being restricted so that we could be prepared for the eventuality of a not so good monsoon. And I do personally believe it's only a coincidence that this circular has gone out a day after this. Although I wouldn't put it past the Modi government to play some mischief on this, because they don't, they're very politically aware of everything. But let me go back to your first question. FCI is not a private agency. It is not even a commercial agency in the strictest sense of the term. It is essentially a public institution, and to that extent, it is governed by public policy. Now, if the public policy says food grains have to be sort of conserved for the eventuality of a not so good monsoon, or to manage inflation, which is a major concern right now, especially with the election year, to that extent, FCI is sort of empowered. But it cannot discriminate against one particular state. I would say it should not discriminate even in favor of the center, because the center has a parallel program for under the National Food Security Act.
Yes.
And as you recall, last year, the special COVID window opened in the name of the Prime Minister's Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana was closed, but some of those aspects of giving free food grains instead of subsidized food grains was incorporated into the National Food Security Act, which has been in place for a decade since the UPA government. And therefore, the issue is the central government being unfair vis-a-vis FCI, because FCI is an agent for everyone, including the central and state governments. There is something called the central issue price at which the Food Security Act supplies go to the government. Logically, the Karnataka government should have the same window open for a state level absorption. So this is where I think the crux of the issue is. If I don't rule out the Karnataka government going to something like the Supreme Court saying, look, how can the center supply to itself via FCI something at a price and deny us that access, because it goes against the right to equality or right to fair trade. This is the nuanced issue. It is only for the bureaucrats to know exactly what are the bylaws or the provisions within the FCI government relationship. I see it going there. But Mr. Siddaramaiah, being who he is, he knows how to politicize these things. He's as good as, let's say, Amit Shah in this matter. So he's going to town, because we are not yet done with elections, because Karnataka will elect Lok Sabha members.
That I think is the point. Rajat Sethi,
exactly.
we thought the campaigning was over. We thought the politicking is over. In the last week in Karnataka, it seems as if poll campaign is still on. With every new announcement made by the Karnataka government, there is a hit back on textbooks, on repealing the anti-conversion law. They are doing what they said they would promise.
Can I chip in?
No, Rajat, quick word from Rajat Sethi. He's not spoken yet. Just a quick word from Rajat Sethi, and then I'll come to you, Vijay Prasad. Yes.
I think, you were right, Tamanna. It's the Karnataka election has happened just a year before the national election. So the temperatures would be, would be high through this next 1 year. We will see politicking being the mainstay. but look at the limitations of freebie politics or freebies in this country. Today you announced that you're going to give away free power, and then in order to do that, you had to jack up the rates, and suddenly your industries are out on the streets saying that their price input costs of electricity has shot up by 30-40%, and they can't function in the state because they won't be competitive. So, anything that you go out and promise, and if you do not think from an economic standpoint and only see it from partisan political lenses, you end up making such mistakes. Today, the central government would say that this is an executive arm of my government, and I would be, held accountable for any kind of, sudden price rise because
of... Rajat Sethi, the point that Madhavan made, FCI, if it's saying I will not sell anything to states now because I want to... keep my buffer in place in case there's a bad monsoon, then they shouldn't give it to the central government either.
Then what will do with that?
1 minute. If a state government giving free rice is freebie politics, then why isn't it freebie politics when the center does it?
So there are a lot of arms of the state government also which tend to do, the free electricity is not being given by the central government, it is given by the state government because it is, as per the law, it is under...
there's one central agency for... Do you know what FCI does? There's one central agency to distribute food stocks. They have to do it equally to everyone. Madhavan just explained it beautifully.
No, but read the FCI. Do you want me to pull it out for you?
Yes, please do. I don't know what you want to read, but please go ahead. Yes, Vijay Prasad. Please read whatever you want to. Yes, Vijay Prasad.
You have political lenses when you're trying to analyze a situation. It's pretty black and white.
See, really, Rajat?
Tamanna,
yes.
The fact of the...
Yes.
Tamanna, the fact of the matter is, the Congress allegations that Karnataka is being targeted is clearly deceptive. Okay, the center's directive clearly says it is applicable to all states, including the BJP-ruled states. But the main thing why Congress is going hammer and tongs is because the decision of the central government is worrying, and it is destroying the castle of lies which it built over on the trust of the people of Karnataka. See, one thing Congress is, I would like to make it very crystal clear is that there is no barrier for the Siddaramaiah government to purchase food grain from the open market to meet the needs of the people of the state. I would like to make that clear. But having said that, the Food Corporation of India and the central government has one thing priority. Okay, priority number one is under the Food Security Act. Under the Food Security Act, it has to make sure that the free rice through the public distribution system is available. That is the first priority. Next comes the later things. Next comes what are the promises. If it is affordable, yeah, it will do it. Now things have changed. The monsoon has not stepped in. So there is delay in monsoon. So the central government and the Food Corporation of India should ensure that the rice and the other cereals and the other grains are available through
on
the
the 12th of June they could give it.
Make sure
all that would have been fine, but what is making the whole situation very political is this letter that Mr. Siddaramaiah has put out on his Twitter handle. I'll just pull up that picture. He said on 12th of June FCI didn't know it had all of this problem.
One thing Congress conveniently is forgetting the interministerial letter of 8th of June. They are completely camouflaging with this political
statement. So are you saying the FCI did not know? Are you saying the FCI did not know what was happening on the 12th of June? The FCI was unaware on the 12th of June that a decision had already been made on the 8th, and they said, okay, we'll give you the rice. That's what it means, right? Either FCI didn't know what's happening, or they changed their mind. It can be one of two things.
They would not have quoted that day. That's it.
Okay. Yes, please come in.
Yeah. See, I have a simple question to whatever the Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson said. Why don't you just call the FCI incompetent? Because according to you, monsoon on the 13th of June arrives. On the 13th of June doesn't arrive, but even on the 12th, it's a different case. So please just call the FCI incompetent, and that just state that the center is not able to fulfill the demands of Kannadigas. And Tomorrow, if a Kannadiga comes out on the street hungry, is the center going to answer for it? Are you going to take
No,
accountability
but they're
for
already
it?
giving
Dhruv,
rice.
If you are over here
Dhruv,
trying to
they're already giving rice.
Meteorological
They're already giving rice.
Please
Central
keep it
government
in
is
mind,
already giving rice.
Food
You are giving
Corporation of
additional
India
rice.
is not a
Okay, Madhavan
meteorological
wants to come in.
department to
The
keep a track
central
of
government
when
is
the monsoon
already
will
giving
arrive.
rice. The state wants to give additional rice. Yes, Madhavan.
Just a couple of quick points. Nothing stops Mr. Siddaramaiah from you dipping into revenue from the beer pubs of Karnataka to actually subsidize the Anaa Bhagya scheme. That apart, I think this whole freebie thing, I wanted to join issue with Rajat Sethi. You know, the central government also gives food grains free. That is also freebie. And the production link incentive scheme given to industrialists and land given for industries, that's also freebie. Now, I don't think I will test, if it's given to industrialists, you cannot glorify it. Everything is a freebie, including loan waivers of NPAs. And therefore, we have to be politically conscious of the fact that public policy has to be bipartisan approach. And there's nothing wrong. Scandinavia is revered by the world for providing welfare benefits to all its citizens through taxpayer revenue. And to the extent that fiscal deficit can sustain it, any freebie is fine. I call them vote bees and not freebies. Freebie is a term deliberately coined by anti-poor people to extract resources because socio-linguistically, it's a wrong word. There's nothing wrong with if it's PLI scheme, if loan waivers are not freebies, this is also not freebies. So the other point I want to make is that budgetary provisions of the central government and the state government, if the FCI is a bipartisan organization, has to be judged on the basis of common rules in which only a judiciary can weigh in on this issue, because otherwise there will be a tutu meme on this. But having said that, let me say the central government is responsible for inflation management for the entire country and not just for Karnataka. To that extent, it will be justified in telling any court of law that it has the right to build buffer stocks.
Yeah.
And to that extent, Mr. Siddaramaiah will have to dip into his own coffers too.
No, so he can. Right. And before I come to Rajat wants to respond. So the current retail price of rice is about 13.5 rupees per kg. Karnataka government would have got it for 34 per kg. Plus about 2 rupees for transport, so around 36 per kg. When you look at the large and vast quantities that have to be distributed, that comes up to a lot. So that is at the heart of it. That is the amount that the Karnataka government will have to additionally give from taxpayer money if they have to continue with the scheme without that support from FCI. Yes, Rajat Sethi, you want to respond to Madhavan's point on freebies?
Well, it's just not just me, but even the Supreme Court, which has taken cognizance of this. They also understand that, slipping down on the way where Sri Lanka and Venezuela have ended up is something that the central government has to be perpetually cautious of, and they have to point out to the states when they go beyond their means. I mean, there are the fiscal responsibility bills all the way up to, RBI putting restrictions on states to borrow. There are ample examples to stop this habit or this culture among our political parties to go out on a rampage just distributing freebies. Essentially, this is something where one has to put the economists have to come together and tell and suggest, is 5 kg rice enough, or just making a political promise of doubling it is enough? That needs an academic thinking. That it cannot be, drop of the hat political promise coming in right at the time of the elections, and then you claim that, oh, this is a welfare scheme. I'm sorry, sir, definitions don't go by this, and even the Supreme Court has come down. So
who will decide? 1 minute. Who will decide? Who will decide? So only one political party can decide. Who will decide?
The people will decide. People will decide.
No, who will decide? I don't want 10 kilos. Clearly, they want it because they voted for them.
Exactly.
I'm telling you exactly that.
What are you saying?
These definitions have to come out of the purview of political parties and departments like the MOSPI, which does the planning.
No, but you can't be selective. You can't be selective. A political party in a democratic setup has the right to make a promise.
Exactly.
The people have the right to reject it, saying it's a rubbish promise.
Manmohan Singh says कि पेड़ पे पैसे नहीं लगते, तो कांग्रेस पार्टी उगा दे पेड़ जिस पे पैसे लगते हैं, वहां से तोड़ ले पैसे. This debate.
Then please give us our fair share of taxes that we pay to the center, and we'll implement this entire scheme without the FCI. It's as simple as that. For the amount of money that we give to the center.
Madam, you asked me. I've opened the mandate. I've opened the website of FCI.
Fair
I
share
can
of
tell you
taxes,
the
and
website
you will
of
implement the
FCI,
Anaa Bhagya
the
scheme.
sales mandate. The sales mandate of FCI clearly says it is the distribution of food grains under the targeted PDS program, which used to be there earlier under the UPA regime or the NFSA, and other welfare schemes duly notified by Government of India. This is what is written on the website. Is it written that duly notified by Government of Karnataka? No, clearly no. And then you go on the entire charter of FCI. This is not the charter to support one political party who is coming to recently.
Okay, Rajat, can I ask you a question? Rajat, can I ask you a question? Rajat, can I ask you a question that I asked Vijay Prasad? Yes, sab theek hai, everything is right. So why did they say on the 12th that we'll give it? What happened?
So why? So can you tell me?
Can you explain to me? So what happened on the 12th of June? Why did they say we'll give it and then revert? If they didn't have a mandate, if they didn't have a charter, if they're worried about the monsoon, what changed between the 12th and 13th of June?
El Nino and its impact is being
El Nino happened on 12th of June. El Nino we've been talking about the last 2 months.
Is there a good day that it is to be determined that on
then
that
why
day
have they said on the 12th of June they will give it? There is no answer to this one basic question. Vijay Prasad, you want to come in just yelling louder and louder. Rajat is not going to make your point, I'm afraid. Vijay Prasad, what happened on the 12th of June? Did FCI not know what the group of ministers is saying? Is there a lack of communication in the government? Should someone come and clarify what's happening?
See, Tamanna, it is not about the importance is not about the date. The importance is about whether the Congress is able to keep up its promises. Okay. Now they started this communication between the Food Corporation of India only from 9th onwards. Right, they started this communication with the FCI only from the 9th onwards. It has been within the departmentals, within the Food Corporation, the general manager, all those things. But before that, the main crux of the matter lies with Congress. Whether did they analyze these things? Did they foresee all these things before they made promises? Did they at least talk to the agriculture minister or the other ministry where they can so that they can the central government would have been very approachable to keep up those promises, or they would have helped it. But without taking into consideration all these things, Congress has made these tall promises, and now they are shifting the blame conveniently on the center that the central government is not supporting the state government's scheme. Come on, what is happening in Karnataka?
Dhruv Jati,
right?
Dhruv Jati, did you bite off more than you could chew? Okay, let me ask Dhruv Jati the question. Dhruv Jati, did you promise too much, and now that you have to deliver it without making the state treasury empty, without going broke for the treasury of Karnataka?
Tamanna, not at all.
Are you trying to figure out ways to sort of explain why you can't do what you promised and blame it on them? That's the charge. Let Dhruv Jati respond. Yes.
Not at all, Tamanna, because if it wasn't for this FCI circular on the 13th, we would have happily gone ahead with the Anaa Bhagya scheme that is supposed to be launched on July 1st. My question to the Bharatiya Janata Party is very simple. I'm not going to get into a long monologue. If you are incompetent and unable to fulfill your responsibility as the center towards Kannadigas, give us our fair share of taxes back that we pay to the center. Because we get
the Congress government who is incompetent.
Let me complete, sir.
Let him finish. He listened to you. Vijay Prasad, he listened to you. He listened to you. You should also listen to him. Let him finish, please, Mr. Prasad. That's only fair. That's only fair that you listen to him. Yes.
Give us our fair share of taxes back if you are incompetent and unable to fulfill your
Dhruv Jati,
responsibility.
can I ask you a question? Dhruv, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you?
Go ahead with the Anaa Bhagya with our own
scheme of. Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? When you made the promise, and your government made the promise of rolling out this scheme, that was before you had this letter from the FCI on the 12th. So you were going to do it one way or the other. Right.
Exactly, Tamanna.
You would have to. Your scheme was not incumbent upon the FCI coming through. Yes, you reached out to them on the 9th of June, but your promises precede the FCI's nod.
Of course, Tamanna, but the FCI does play as a big variable in terms of us implementing this promise simply because of the allocation that they have and
there
their
was no
responsibility
guarantee
towards
that
the
they would
states.
come
That's
through.
irrespective.
There was no guarantee when you made the promise. So suppose the FCI did not come through, it is suppose drought hits and the FCI cannot give state governments buffer. That might happen. We might have a bad monsoon. 80% of your rice comes in the Kharif season. So you might have a bad monsoon. Everything might go awry. So you didn't have that guarantee when you made the promise before the elections.
That's not the case, Tamanna. The case is very simple. The fact that they said okay on the 12th and no on the 13th shows that either the FCI is incompetent or that they had no idea about the monsoon, right?
Politics
and the
over
next
food.
part about it shows that it is clear that this is coming right before the budget.
So both ways. So both ways. Couple of things that are that need to be answered at the end of the discussion, and I'm wrapping it up. Number one, was the FCI unaware that there was a interministerial meeting on the 8th of June? What were they thinking when they agreed to the Karnataka government's demands on the 12th of June? If so, what changed in 24 hours and hence the 13th June circular? Did the Congress government have a plan to roll out their promise even without the FCI coming in because they didn't have any guarantee when they made that promise? At the end of the day, should there be politics over food in a nation like India? I think that's the biggest question of all. I'll take a very short break, but on the other side,